How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good, thank God.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Same here. Yes, thank you for being a wonderful part of our festival last year. Got
Of course.
yeah, the film got a wonderful response, of course. You and Taylor tied for best actor in a feature. So yeah, thank you for all your contributions to our festival. It's
Of
greatly.
course. Well, thank you for having us there, and I'm pleased that everyone enjoyed the movie. So that's great.
Yeah. I had some friends I was sitting watching with some friends, and they were like, "Oh, this is hysterical," you know.
Oh, good.
In every humdrum life, there is a muse, someone who ignites inspiration. I had Sally Kirkland. Mom, you'd support me if I went for what I really want, right? I need to move to Hollywood.
Maybe you'll meet Reba McEntire.
I could meet Sally Kirkland.
Like that's gonna happen.
Do these photos mean these people ate here?
You mean Sally? She just left.
Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of me and my paintings? Are you my new assistant?
Yes.
You start right now. In 1988, I was nominated for the Best Actress Oscar in the same category as Meryl Streep, and it's like I've been completely erased. Ask Ned if he'll hire me.
Sally? Sally Fields? Sally Struthers?
No, Kirkland.
You were in MASH, right?
That's Sally Kellerman.
Anna was the first independent film I ever saw. I love Anna because she's an underdog. Remember when I said I wanted to meet my favorite movie star? She's here and wants to talk to you.
She wants to talk to me?
God just brought us together. He is a mystical child of light.
Okay.
Sally, I want to get you out there again. Get you noticed. You're the reason I came to Hollywood. Come on, this can't be the worst movie you've ever done.
Who's there? In fact, it is.
Please, Zach, you fix the faucet, now please fix the script.
You've done nothing but neglect me.
It's not the same business, Sally.
Ever want a real assistance job? Give me a call.
You haven't changed.
Nothing good ever came from going online.
I don't know where I belong anymore. You came into my life and you brought me hope. Light of God!
Just because the rest of the world forgot about you doesn't mean I ever will.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm here with Mr. Tom Connolly. He is a wonderful actor. He won Best Actor in a feature-length film last year with SALLYWOOD, and we're so grateful for his time today. And we're going to talk with him a little bit today. So, yes, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks.
Yes. Let's talk about SALLYWOOD a bit. What was your experience like on set? How did you get the role? Anywhere you want to fill us in?
So I got the role. I got an audition through my manager, and I taped for the role of Tom first, and then actually, like a month later, they asked me to read for the role of Zach on tape. And then I didn't hear anything for a really long time. And so I assumed that it was done. And then suddenly, like one morning, I woke up to an email from my manager being like, they want to see you today in person, the director, the producers, and casting. And he was sort of like, urgent, can you make it? Because it was like in a couple hours. And I was like, yes, definitely I can make it. And then I realized, the last time I taped for it was about a month ago. So then I sort of couldn't really remember the lines or anything about the scene. So I had to like go over it again. But it's such a fun, and they brought me back in for the role of Tom. And it's such a fun role. and the scenes that they had, that I was just, it was kind of good to find out last minute that I was going in for a director producer session, because then you don't put as much pressure on yourself. And I was like, I'm just going to go in and have fun with this, which I did. And yes, funnily enough, I was planning to fly. I was flying back to, I was in LA. I was flying back to London like a week later. And I think within that week, I hadn't heard anything. So, I flew back to London, and then the day I got back, heard that I was cast as Tom.
Oh.
So then they were like, okay, we've got to fly you back to LA. So I was in London for maybe 2 days, and then they flew me back to LA for the shoot, which was great. And the shoot was just so much fun. You know, I hadn't actually met Tyler or anyone involved with it until I met the director and the producers, but any of the other cast until I had been cast myself. So Tyler and I met up, and like straight away we just had like a really good connection and really good chemistry together. And I just knew that it would be a fun time working with him. And so then we kind of like got into it straight away. And as on all indie productions, you know, there's not a lot of money and therefore not a lot of time. So you're like really moving fast. You're doing a lot of scenes in one day. And so it was just like, buckle up and go for it. And, it was just a great experience. I had so much fun. I felt very free in that role. I did a lot of improvisation, which they kept a little bit in the film of, not a lot. And yeah, just very fun memories of shooting it.
Wonderful. First of all, credit to you for flying back after 2 days and not being horribly jet lagged.
Well, I was really jet lagged. And actually and I met Sally as well on my very first day of filming, but we didn't have a scene together that day. The first scene that I shot was Tyler and I in the car, where I'm giving him my pep talk about, you know, LA being a tough town. And so that was like kind of a really fun way to start, because I was completely jet lagged. So I was like feeling quite spaced out. And we had a police escort through Hollywood. And the car was really just being towed. I wasn't actually driving it. And it was just kind of like an exciting way to start the shoot, you know. And I loved that scene as well. But of course, it was very nerve wracking, because it just felt like I'd like thrown into the deep end, and I was still like, oh, where am I? But yeah, and I met Sally that day, had a great chat with Sally, and knew straight away it was going to be a fun time. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I had the opportunity to speak with her and interview her as well. She seems like such a lovely, joyous person. I hope she's doing well. Do you know how she's doing now?
I know that she's like she's being looked after in Palm Springs, and I think that she's doing okay. You know, obviously I think about her a lot, and I hope that, you know, she's on the mend, and I think she's getting really good care out there. So yeah, and Zach is in touch with her regularly. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, again, it was such a lovely film, and you had a great role. And I just wonder, like, do you prefer comedic roles to dramatic? What's your preparation for either one? How are they different or similar? If you'll take us through your process, I guess.
Yeah, I don't prefer one over the other. I like both, and I'd like to do more of each. I didn't really approach the role of Tom as, I mean, I knew obviously it was a comedy, but I didn't approach it thinking I've got to be funny. I just wanted to make it feel grounded and real. I mean, he's a larger than life character, but in that I wanted it to feel at least grounded, not just complete like cartoonish caricature. And so my preparation for Tom was just sort of finding a way into like what's really going on with him. Like, he's constantly on the make. He's constantly surrounded by people. He is very like upbeat and optimistic. And what I landed, and he's based on a real person, Zach's the director, Zach's actual roommate, who is not British, and he looks nothing like me. I saw a picture of him and I sort of got an essence. And then the thing that I really picked up on in the script for me was that I got the impression that Tom is quite a lonely person. And so he keeps himself constantly occupied and constantly distracted and surrounded by people so that he doesn't have to really face that. But also, he's not someone who's feeling sorry for himself, but he's just focused on what's next. So I use that feeling. It's almost like he's running from something, but not in a way that he is consciously like scared of it. He just uses that to motivate himself. And so that's what I landed on with that character. And really, like every time I get a role or every time I prepare for an audition, it's kind of every time I approach it, it's different. You know, sometimes you get a role where you just sort of feel like, oh, I know what to do with this. And then it's about really like delving a bit deeper into what's really going on with them. And usually what I do when I've been cast is read the script over and over and over again before I make any big decisions. So I can just sort of let it kind of sink in and figure out what's the real storyline, what's my character's through line, all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes I'll get an audition where I read the scenes, the sides, and I'm just like, what the hell is this about? You know, what's really going on here? And that's when I have to break it down in a bit more of a like different way where I really figure out what's the character's objective, what's going on beat to beat. And then the most important thing is that once you've done all that work, and then you're in the audition room or you're doing the self-tape or you're on set filming, is to throw all that work away and just kind of be in the moment with the other actor. And also to like have a sense of fun and play with it, because that's really where the enjoyment as an actor comes from, is the sense of play. And sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You gave so much there. Like, you know, there's really a psychological effort, an intellectual effort to break things down and see where things are coming from. And what you said, I believe was spot on for your character in SALLYWOOD. It felt like he was very vulnerable, like somebody trying to make it or break it by all means. So yeah, like you said, very grounded. Yeah, no, so again, wonderful job there. And yeah, and I appreciate that, because I think sometimes actors get slammed a lot. Like they think, you know, people might think like, oh, you have a cute face and, you know, all you need to do is just show up and, you know, lights on. Right. And yeah. And they really don't see all the preparation and the dedication, you know, the research, you know, the inner work that you pull from sometimes, right? So I think, no, that's great. That was a great explanation of how you work. Yeah. How and obviously you've been doing this for a long time. Do you ever still get nervous like before an audition, or like especially if it's something you really want, like, oh, this is regardless of like budget or notoriety, but just like the actual like, yes, I want to say these words, you know? So does that kind of, you still get the butterflies, you still get that, you know?
Yeah, I do, definitely. I mean, it's you know, so rare now that, particularly for the first stage or phase of auditions, that you're actually in front of anyone. It's all, you're taping yourself. And so you have your friend who's reading with you, and there's a camera set up, and you know you can do it as many times as you want. So when I'm doing that, I don't get nervous at all, because obviously for me, the nerves come from, if you're going into like in front of a casting director or a director session or the producers, the nerves come from you might only get to do it once, and what if you mess, you know, you obviously have a voice in your head, you're going to mess it up. So that's where the nerves come from for me in that scenario. But it's just, you know, to walk into an office room and you don't know what you could be doing, like a super emotional scene with, a bunch of people watching you and a reader who you might not be naturally connected with. It is nerve wracking because you want to do, if you care and you want to do your best work, it's like how, to find a way in, because auditioning is a completely different game to acting.
Yeah.
Like it's another skill. And you wonder, and you don't know what you're going to find when you go into that room either. So it is a sort of bit of an unknown because every room is different and the atmosphere and all of that. So that, yes, I do still find that nerve wracking. But it now, even like walking into a room I have that every now and then, but often director producer sessions are now over Zoom like this, which is also nerve wracking, but it's also just a very surreal way of doing it because it's like you're in a room by yourself talking to someone on camera and you're supposed to be connecting with someone, but you're not really looking into their eyes. You're looking at a computer screen. So that in and of itself is a completely different ball game. But yeah, definitely when it's, in front of people, when you're auditioning, and also the first, day on set, I always find quite nerve wracking. And then then you sort of ease into it and you're not necessarily nervous every day, but then there's usually like one scene or one moment that you're like building up in your head that you're waiting to get to, that then when the day arrives, you go in and you're like, you're nervous again about doing that one scene. So yeah, I mean, I think if you speak to most actors, they'll say like that feeling of nervousness never really goes away. And I think that it would be a shame if it did, because it kind of makes it exciting and makes it feel, I think that the one thing I miss about going into the room auditioning versus self-tape is that I do think I do better when I have a bit of adrenaline, a bit of nerves going. And so if you completely lost that feeling, I think it would make it a bit boring.
Yeah, somewhat robotic or something. Yeah. No, interesting. And you're from London,
Yes.
proper London, England.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Born and raised,
I wonder, like, if you want to, like, so there's so much there, like, because you obviously could do an American accent wonderfully, as we heard. So, what was that like? Did you know, like, early on, like, oh, I have to work on this if I want to work in America? Did you go to a dialect coach? Yeah.
So, my mum is American. And I am a citizen. So I've spent a lot of time in America over my life. And so I didn't find it too hard to pick up the accent, but yeah, I worked with online kind of vocal coach where it would teach you like how to say specific words and the intonation and all of that. Because I did think, in America, it's got to be flawless for you to pass as an American, So yeah, I worked on that. And then after a while, it kind of became second nature. So I can kind of switch it on and off, which is good. So
wow, yeah. I remember there's an episode of Frasier where Daphne, that's like my favorite sitcom ever, where she spoke with an American accent for a little bit and it just sounded like it was another person. Yeah. Sorry, I just brought that up for me. So what's the difference in terms of like, the acting, like kind of atmosphere, climate, in terms of London versus LA, like different standards, different atmospheres? If you want to give us your interpretation.
Well, I've been LA based for quite a while now. And so, I worked as a kid in the UK before taking some time off of acting and going to university and doing all of that. Honestly, there's not that much difference in the process of like auditioning and doing all of that. It's pretty much the same. I think sets maybe run differently. I don't think you can do as long hours in the UK as you can in the States. So that's slightly different. I could be wrong about that though. But yeah, what's the major difference there? I don't know. I mean, I will say like TV working in the US versus the UK is that TV just has so much more money here. So there are bigger productions, and as an actor, you can make more money doing TV than you can in the UK. But then that's sort of changing as well with, streaming and Netflix doing UK productions and American. It's all sort of like bundled into the same kind of thing now. But in terms of the experience as an actor, I don't think it's too different, honestly.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Good to know. And now I saw you announced on Instagram you're part of The Chosen.
Yes.
And that's coming to theaters. So what has this ride been like for you? How did you come across that role? Anything from your personal life inform that character? Wherever you'd like to jump in on that.
So it's at theatres now. The new season 5, part 1. So that's technically episodes 1 and 2 as one film.
You must know something. I do believe that Jesus is most likely the Messiah.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you believe that?
I've seen too much.
Then why are you doing this?
I suppose I have not seen enough.
Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem.
You can run on for a long time.
My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of thieves!
By what authority are you doing these things?
My own!
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
We have a problem. Jesus operates entirely outside our jurisdiction.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees!
Stop this at once!
The world is changing, and Jesus offers a vision to redeem it.
That you can see at theatres and in IMAX. So I had been cast as the lead in a movie called Love, Courage, and the Battle of Bushy Run, which should be coming out here, I believe, this year, soon. Which is like it's a war movie set in the 1700s during Pontiac's War. And the casting director of that brought me in. She was casting The Chosen. They were casting for season 3. And she brought me in for the director on that. I self-taped first for the role of Pontius Pilate. And then they brought me in for a callback for that role with Dallas Jenkins, who's the creator of The Chosen and, directs every episode. And I didn't get that role, but they asked me if I would play a different character called Leander, who is not in the Bible. He's an invented character by the writers of The Chosen. And he's an augur, which is someone who interprets bird flight and the weather as signs from the gods. And then he tells the people what the gods are like telling them to do and all of this sort of stuff. And then Jesus comes into his life, into the Decapolis, and the disciples first come, and they start preaching the word of Jesus, and this completely everything goes into chaos because everyone's like, what is this? This is something we've never heard of. Who's Jesus? And so essentially my character, Leander, starts off as a complete skeptic. Like, he does not think this Jesus guy is someone who should be trusted or believed. And then but he's curious, and then he meets Jesus, and then my character's arc over the course of the episodes in season 3 is that he becomes, after the feeding of the 5,000, a full believer of Jesus and the word that he's preaching. So, yeah, what I did to research that role was I watched the show, and then I had to sort of just figure out, again, a way of grounding the character in reality and bringing a lot of myself to that role. And I just sort of placed myself in that character's shoes and thought that I would feel exactly the same way. I'd probably be like, what? This is ridiculous. What's going on? And Yeah, I mean, I just sort of, went with it. I studied, elements of the Bible at school and just had to sort of throw myself into the show. And what was interesting about that role was that in the script originally he was described as being 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I'm not 17. And I thought that's interesting that they thought of me for this role. And I think what that did was sort of subconsciously inform a sense of like wide-eyed innocence in the character.
Interesting.
So even though I'm not, a teenager, I thought maybe I can bring some of that to this role, just this sort of like maybe naivety of innocence. Yeah. So that helped inform it as well. And then, just being on set, getting into the wardrobe, we were shooting in Texas for the season 3 mostly, just out in these huge fields. And then they have these incredible sets for the show. And it just sort of helps you like immerse yourself in that world. And so, yeah, that's kind of what.
Yeah, no, it is beautifully done. I haven't seen the whole series yet, but yeah, it's very immersive feeling. Yeah, and it's like I am Christian's, just like so moving to watch. It's like, yeah, like it's really a powerful piece. So that's excellent. That yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he comes back again in episode 2 of season 5. My character, so yeah, more Leander.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, it's beautifully done. I wonder, do you ever see yourself also like directing or writing? Do you have any ambition to go in that direction as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've written and directed a couple of short films that I was in one of them and then not the other. And I'm actually working on I've written some pilot scripts, and I'm working on a feature film right now that my plan is to be in it and direct it as well. So that is my current focus. That's something I would really love to do, because ultimately, like, I've always loved movies. That's what made me want to be an actor, was the movies. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do, is write and direct something that I can also be in. So that's what I am focusing on right now. Is that
Brilliant? What like, do you have directors that you're kind of like, oh, I want to follow in that person's footsteps? I like those themes that they tackle, or that style that they have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily ever want to like emulate somebody, because someone like David Lynch, for example, probably my favorite ever director. Mulholland Drive is my all-time favorite.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
I can't believe it. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm in this dream place.
This one comes highly recommended.
Dream place. What are you doing?
Get out of the car.
Yeah. The girl is still missing.
What's wrong? I just don't know who I am. I wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive. Come on, it'll be just like in the movies. We'll pretend to be someone else.
This is all an illusion.
You want to know who you are, don't you?
Where's this going?
Mulholland Drive.
It's been a very strange day.
Getting stranger.
I would never even try to emulate someone like that, obviously, because he's, so unique, and he did something that only really he can do. And you see it, other people are obviously inspired by it, but I don't think anyone would ever attempt to be exactly like David Lynch, because that was so unique to him. but definitely the themes of it and the overall vibe of a lot of his films, where it feels sort of like a fever dream, like a nightmare.
A real type, yeah.
Like not necessarily, it all feels real, but something slightly off. And you know, sometimes people are called one thing and then they look different and are called something else. And I just think that he was a master at capturing that feeling of what it's like to be in a dream, you know, where the emotions and everything while you're having the dream seem completely real, even though not everything is making complete sense. And then you wake up from that dream and you're like, what was that even about? And why was I feeling so freaked out while I was in that dream? And I think that he really captured that on film. I also love Jonathan Glazer, director, who did The Zone of Interest and Under the Skin. And my favorite of his actually is Birth with Nicole Kidman, which I think is a very underrated movie. And he did it's great. You should watch it. It's great. Yeah.
You know that I loved Sean. You know so much. It's taken me this long, and I can't get him out of my system. I can't. Too many memories. I understand that this is going to sound crazy. I've met somebody who seems to be Sean.
Am I to understand that 10-year-old boy told you he was your late husband, Sean?
He said, "It's me, Sean. What am I supposed to think?"
He's back.
What do you want?
You'll be making a big mistake if you marry Joseph.
There's a boy this tall who wants to marry my fiancée.
You're hurting me. Don't bother me again.
From now on, we're gonna tell the truth. What do you want to know?
How did Sean meet Anna?
We met at the beach. We got married 30 times in 30 days.
How do you know what you know?
I'm Sean.
You can't go around saying you're somebody you're not. What are you doing?
I'm looking at my wife.
This is insane. I mean, I don't want to fall in love again with Sean, and that's what's happening.
You can think whatever you want. Everybody can think what they want. I'm who I say I am.
Stay away. Stay away.
You ask Anna who she loves more, me or Joseph. Go ahead. Go ask her.
And he captures a sort of something very magnetic, and you just can't tear your eyes away from the screen. And a just sort of captivating atmosphere where once the film is over, you feel like you're still like in the world of the movie because the atmosphere was so pervasive. And that's kind of what I would like to capture in this film that I'm writing. It's a horror movie, but I would love to create a really pervasive kind of almost nightmarish atmosphere that, you know, lingers with you after it's over. So.
Wow. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's amazing. Brilliant. I look forward to it. Bring us back, if you would. You said you have another movie coming out as well, a Civil War.
It's based, it's Pontiac's War. It's called Love, Courage, and the Battle of Bushy Run, based on a true story. I play Colonel Henry Bouquet, real life character. And it's about, he leads ragtag group of soldiers to take back Fort Pitt that has been captured by the Native Americans.
Colonel Bouquet. General, everyone knows Colonel Bouquet from his exploits with the French.
I was just talking about your victory in that nasty little battle outside Sandusky.
There's a dreadful situation in the area of Fort Pitt.
But the war is over.
If Fort Pitt falls, the whole of the American colony is in peril.
Why would your people do this?
Together, we will liberate our kin!
great men cannot abandon their purpose in life, no matter the pain left behind.
My purpose, our purpose, is to rescue the citizens of Fort Pitt by whatever means necessary.
They do not intend to spare anyone.
And effectively, on the way to do that, a battle sparks up in this area called Bushy Run. And it really is a major turning point in the history of America.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know. I mean, I didn't know the story before I got the script. But if the British had not won that battle, America would look totally different. So it is a fascinating piece of history that not many people know about. And it was just a fantastic role. There were, I'm in practically every scene, huge variety of emotions and things for me to do, action, romance, big, war speeches, riding horses. So it was,
wow.
Amazing opportunity there as an actor to really sink your teeth into something like that. And it was released in the UK last year on digital, and it is coming out here this year. I don't know the exact date. It might be around May sometime, but I'll post about it on my Instagram when I know the exact details. But yeah, keep an eye out for that one.
Brilliant. Do you want more of those types of role, the kind of action bend? Are you into that? And also doing something that like prolific, right? Almost in every scene. How did you sustain yourself? Like, I assume it was like physically a lot. So yeah, did you have like training during that time, and the additional training or something, like a physical trainer?
I didn't. I mean, again, it is an indie film, so again, it's like time is limited. They flew me out a week. It was all shot in Georgia. They flew me out a week before shooting to have training with the horse.
So your first time on horse?
No, I hadn't been on a horse for a while, but it wasn't my first time. And this amazing horse wrangler called Ed Dabney, who gave me like lessons, and I was out there every day for a week, which was great. But thankfully, I had been keeping myself in shape in the lead up to that, like getting lots of exercise and all of this kind of stuff. So I felt in good physical shape to take on a role like that. But yeah, and again, like, you're shooting maybe 8 pages a day.
Wow.
It can get intense, and you just have to sort of find a way of conserving energy as best you can. So anytime, I wasn't in front of the camera, I would sort of just sit and like, this is kind of what I'm like on set anyway. I'm pretty quiet in between takes because, I'm not necessarily thinking consciously I've got to sit and be quiet, but I know that I need to conserve my energy for when action is called. I don't want to expend it all and then have them call action. I've like got no energy left. So I did that. And then on weekends, really, I just took weekends to just sleep. Still, having said that, you do get to a point where you're really like fighting the exhaustion.
Yeah.
and you do sort of get to the other side of that and have a resurgence of energy again. But yeah, it was definitely like a really amazing experience to have, to see just how much physical and mental energy a role like that requires, and not only that, but being able to give the performance you want to give amidst all of that. So yeah. But yes, I would love to do more action roles of that nature. Maybe a modern day one would be amazing. This period one was incredible, like having all the costumes and being in that sort of world was amazing. So yes, I would love to do more of that, but I would also love to do more of kind of a comedy role, like SALLYWOOD. I also did a rom-com a while ago. I want to do it all.
Why not? It seems like you can brilliantly. So,
yeah.
So again, thank you for being one of our winners and being a great addition to the festival.
Thank you, and thank you for the award and for showing the film and giving us all the support. So that's great. Thank you.
So